America is the greatest country on earth, the strongest, the richest, the most powerful country on earth. As an American, I'm sure you've heard that roughly 135 times a year. No people accept a worse deal than Americans today. High taxes, high cost of living for next to nothing in return from the government.
$2.5 million as a hospital bill. I think this would have given the patient another heart attack and he would have passed away after seeing the bill.
And a higher rate of police killings than in Angola and Sudan.
Current American student debt is at $1.7 trillion. That's more than the GDP of many countries, including Australia, Brazil, and Spain.
People aren't making more money, and college is objectively way more expensive.
Other countries, they don't have this problem.
California and others are saying maybe we should adopt the European model.
In April this year, Quint published an article on their website with the title, "We Live in Fear: How Green Card Backlog Impacts Indian Americans." The article talks about how many Indians have went to the US as immigrants, have been working there for quite a while, but still not have been able to get their permanent residency or their green card because of the ongoing backlog of green cards. Hear it from someone who went to the US in 2006 and is now giving this statement in 2021.
Came to US in 2006, and the first 6 years I was doing residency and fellowship training, and my green card was sponsored in 2013. So it's been 8 years and I'm still in a backlog.
In my appointment calls, I've also met a lot of Indians who were living in US for 10-20 years, but then afterwards decided to make a move away from US because they were still not sure if they can reside in the country for the longer run. And this is actually a serious problem.
And the green card backlog right now is estimated wait time is 195 years.
You heard that right, 195 years of green card backlog. Whereas in other developed nations like Germany, you just come to Germany for studies, afterwards you work in Germany for 2 full years, and afterwards you're eligible to apply for a permanent residency. Then it is as simple as that. There is no lottery system, there is no Russian roulette. It's your life. You've paid taxes to stay in that country, and you've been a contributing member of that society. So why shouldn't a country provide you the permanent residency after you've shown you are actually a person who is going to benefit the society of that country? But in USA, even if you take a massive student loan debt, you put a lot of financial burden on your parents and on your family, because we all know for a fact that USA is one of the most expensive countries to study in. And afterwards, you successfully finish your studies, you start working in US, and then afterwards you're also able to start your family or something, you adapt to their culture. Even then, even after doing so much, it can be 10 years, it can be 15 years, it can be 20 years. There is no guarantee that you will get your permanent residency just because of the lottery system that they use. This is something that I personally find disturbing because, again, like, lottery is nice when you're gambling with your money or something and you want to just like burn all of it away, but you do not do the same with lives of people. The current law issues 140,000 green cards every year in the US, but it is restricted to only a 7% per country cap. The per country limit of 7% allows Indian nationals to receive only 8,400 of the 120,000 employment-based green cards available each year. And now you might be asking, okay, 8,400, but how many Indians go there to study every single year? Over 55,000 Indian students and exchange visitors are traveling to study in the US this year, and it is an all-time record, the US Embassy said on Monday. Like I've told you, only 8,400 Indians per year. With a backlog of 1.2 million green cards and very little progress from the current government, how safe is your dream of settling in US in the longer run? In this video, this is exactly the point I want to discuss on the basis of facts and figures. Is there even a sense of security of studying in USA if you want to settle there in the longer run? Or are you just following the herds of sheeple for whom studying abroad just means studying in USA? Now, before I head into this video, a quick disclaimer. My aim with this video is not to bash US or any of the other countries I've mentioned in this video, but to bring more awareness to my fellow Indian students. Because unlike people from many other countries, we Indians, we are not born wealthy, most of us at least. Most of the universities charge tuition fee, and when somebody brings you as a customer to a university, they get a cut for it. And this is the reason why before blindly following anybody's advice, you should rationally make a decision. And this video is going to show you the other side of US that people generally do not talk about, so that you can have both perspectives and you can still make an educated decision in the end yourself. Now again, you can say that Bharat, you're biased towards Germany or EU, and I totally understand that. But this is the reason why I'm making this video, that okay, if you are already making up your mind for studying in USA, then watching this video would not really change your mind if you were very educated about the decision that you made. But if you're still in the process, if somebody is trying to persuade you towards that, you can just see the other perspective with the help of this video.
And guess what? 3 countries actually dropped when it came to overall progression: Hungary, Brazil, and us. Many African nations came out on the bottom. If this were to continue, the US would be on par with those African nations one day.
As stated on the website of the Harvard Business School, social progress is defined as the capacity of a society to meet the basic human needs of its citizens, establish the building blocks that allow citizens and communities to enhance and sustain the quality of their lives, and create the conditions for all individuals to reach their full potential. A measure of social progress finds that the quality of life has declined in the US, whereas almost everywhere else it has gone up. A decade ago, the US was on 11th position in the survey, and now it is at number 28, which makes it a tier 2 country on the basis of the social progress index. Whereas now Germany is at position 11, which makes it a tier 1 country right next to Norway, Canada, Denmark, Sweden, and many other countries. USA, on the other hand, belongs to the tier 2 countries where the social progress is still declining. So yes, even if many people give you this argument that you can make so much more money in US and so on, the quality of life, it is declining. The survey also showed that out of the 163 countries which were measured back in 2011, only Brazil, Hungary, and United States were the countries where the social progress score actually declined from 2011. A Harvard professor even said, it's like we are a developing nation. Now I can take many other individual factors like mortality rate, homicide rates, environmental quality, and I can pit it against Germany, and you will be surprised and you will just question all of those people who are giving these beautiful advices about studying in US and so on, if they should have also shared with you all of these negative sides. Because anytime somebody gives you an advice, anytime you buy a medicine or something, you always have to read the negative effects it can have too. But many of these people, they just conveniently skip on that. If you talk about personal safety, the US ranks at 57th position, whereas Germany ranks at 15, which makes Germany a much safer place to live in. USA has higher homicide rates, burglaries, rapes, which also makes it not the epitome of a safe society. Whereas when you take a look at Germany, Germany is essentially better in almost every single factor that has been given on the country scorecards. Germany is better in quality of life, personal safety, environment, education, personal rights, and personal freedom and choice. The same is true with Canada. Canada fares better than US in almost every single one of those categories. The country scorecards are actually very detailed, so I'm going to link them in the description so that you can also spend some time with them yourself and actually read up more about it, because the beautiful picture that everybody builds for you about US and so on with the quality of life, it absolutely does not match. So parents who are thinking about sending their children to USA, you shouldn't just think twice, but you should think about it 3 times, 4 times, or even 5 times, because there are much better options available. You have higher crime rates in US, you have way less safety of people, and you have so many other things which we are going to be talking about in the next chapter.
But it's true, 2/3 of all jobs in America require at least some college. Today, the average tuition at all of your same schools is almost $25,000. That's a 110% increase over a period of time when wages have gone up only 16%.
Current American student debt is at $1.7 trillion. That's more than the GDP of many countries, including Australia, Brazil, and Spain.
Yes, you heard that right. USA has $1.7 trillion in student debt. To put things in perspective, Amazon has a market cap of $1.74 trillion. Studying in US is not cheap. You have universities charging you exorbitant tuition fees, and for that, students have to take loans, which they have to keep on paying many years even after they start working full-time. Now, you don't want to start your career with a negative net worth or a long period of loan repayments. And when you start working in a good company, which you have essentially studied very hard for, you're not going to enjoy your life that you essentially earned for yourself. You'll be again having the burden of paying off those student loans for many more years to come. Now, student loans are not always bad, but when you're taking a look at the sums that US universities charge you for tuition fee, that is absolutely insane. Compared to Germany, and Germany charges you absolutely €0 in tuition fee. Yes, zero. They don't charge you anything. All you have to pay is a semester contribution, which is going to help them in covering their administrative costs, and that is only 100 to 300 euros per semester. Not per month, per semester. That means in a year you end up paying only 200 euros to 600 euros per year. So compare it with USA. In Germany, you're paying 400 euros average of tuition fee essentially every single year, whereas in US you end up paying almost 20,000 US dollars or 17,000 euros. That is a massive difference. And if you would invest the difference in some kind of index funds or mutual funds, you're going to be so much richer than just investing so much money at such an early stage of your life. And when people talk about earnings in the US and so on, the earnings are actually not so dramatically different when you're taking a look at the European counterparts. Many students are worried about being a burden on their parents because of their student loans. And of course, your parents wish the best for you. So many times when you end up showing them these videos about studying in USA and so on, they also end up saying yes. Whereas these people who promote studying in USA to you without showing you the other side, that is not so nice, because you're skipping out on so many other details that the parents should know about before they're also able to feel comfortable about making a specific decision for their children. But they never mention the real cons. They just mention something harmless like, oh yeah, India is so far away from US, so you cannot really meet your parents very often, and the visa is a bit of a situation and so on. But they never mention about all of these other details like student loan debts, quality of life, and the next thing that we're going to talk about, healthcare.
One study found that most hospitals charge uninsured patients 4 times as much as Medicare patients for an ER visit. Other countries, they don't have this problem.
In fact, Americans spend the most per person of any country in the world for healthcare.
Now again, we don't have to argue that US is one of the wealthiest countries with one of the highest per annum wages. But US ranks at number 97 in access to healthcare. You can be earning as much money as you want, but when you're sick, you're scared to go to the doctor because the kind of bills that you will get is going to completely bankrupt you. That is a failure of a functional healthcare system, and that too in a developed nation. Take a look at this graph. It shows life expectancy versus health expenditure in various countries. In 2015 alone, the US was spending almost double with a lower life expectancy than those other countries shown above. In US, wages might be higher, taxes might be lower, but your healthcare spending is much higher than most of the other developed nations. Some people also argue that, oh, it's not a problem at all, we are just insured under our company or something. But there's another thing that they always forget to mention. Not all companies in US offer health insurances to their employees. It is not mandatory, it is not compulsory from the government that you as a citizen of that country need to have health insurance. In Germany, it is compulsory. And when it is compulsory, employers also take up 50% of the cost of your health insurance premiums so that you don't have to take all of the burden on your own, which is so important because in Germany, the health insurance premiums, they don't just keep on going up. They have a specific level at which they stop, and no matter how much more money you're making after that, you will still be only paying that maximum amount which is fixed for you. In USA, 44% of the companies did not offer health insurance to their employees. So all of these people who make the argument that, oh, I'm just insured under my company and you can be insured too, that is false. It is not mandatory. So you might be ending up paying Every single time you visit a doctor in US, every single time you go to a dentist or something, and those bills can really make you bankrupt. And if you get diagnosed with something more terminal, then it just gets very painful because there's nobody who is going to cover your medical cost. And US, being the consumeristic and capitalistic society it is, there is no way for you to essentially also minimize the cost. Everybody is going to charge their premiums, and you will be ending up paying for all of them. In a lifetime, more than $400,000 will be spent on healthcare for the typical American resident. Many still don't have all the cover they need to finance this. Whereas the German government heavily subsidizes it, the German life expectancy is still higher and the expenses are still way lower. Plus, for all the students under the age of 30, you can get a special discounted price for your health insurance premiums, which is just around 100 euros per month, and almost every single thing is covered under your public health insurance system. In a nutshell, US might be amongst the wealthiest countries on the planet, but the healthcare system is almost dysfunctional, because if your own citizens cannot get access to medical facilities when they need the most, what is the point of boasting about so much wealth? In Germany, for example, all of the years that I've lived, I've never paid a single cent from my pocket for any of the doctor visits. I just get a card. You get this card from the health insurance. You just show the card to the doctors, and the insurance companies will directly pay all of the money to the doctors, and you will never lose any kind of liquidity. Because in many health insurances, what happens is you have to pay the doctor first the money for any kind of like visits or consultations that you have done, and then you get the reimbursement from the health insurance company. But this means you're still paying something from your pocket. Whereas in the public health insurance system in Germany, you never lose any kind of liquidity, which is something so positive and so underrated, especially when you are diagnosed with something bad and which takes a lot of years or something, a lot of months to recover from that. So in Germany, you're much better placed according to the healthcare system than US. Even after this, if you're against everything that I've said, let's move on to another bigger reason.
Demand is very straight. It is to remove the green card backlog. Although the comprehensive immigration reform that President Biden wants to bring in it will be good for us, we don't see any support for that bill either in the Congress or in the Senate.
Permanent residency, that is quite frankly a disaster in the US. Take a look at this table. Yes, you're looking at real numbers. Almost 800,000 Indians have not received their green card because of the green card backlog. And these numbers are from April 21st, 2021. And this is not a small number because of the 7% per country per annum cap. And you know that a lot of Indian students go to study in US, according to the Ministry of External Affairs figures, whereas the Indians who are getting a permanent residency or a green card is just 8,400. This is just a massive divide. Per country caps force immigrants to wait decades for green cards simply because of their country of origin. Dr. Singh said, the backlog population, if you include the families, is 1.2 million, and politicians won't care. One is racism because we are not white. Second is we are not their vote bank. And third, in 60 days, we haven't heard a single word from the Biden-Harris administration that they would help remove the green card backlog. Now for the green cards, the current estimate right now is 196 years for every Indian who is essentially entering the green card backlog right now. And it is going to rise up to 436 in the year 2030. This in itself, I find the biggest reason to not to go to US, because it just makes absolutely zero sense. You have lived in that country for so long, you have paid taxes there, but even after all of that, if you're not allowed the right to stay there permanently, what is the point of all of that? In Germany, you come, you study, you work for 2 years full-time, you have B1 level proficiency, and then afterwards you can get your permanent residency just in 2 years. And if you're earning above a specific limit and you apply for the EU Blue Card, you can get your permanent residency in just 21 months. This is a massive difference, and this is a fundamental right essentially that you have because you have paid taxes in that country, you're integrated well into the country, so why shouldn't you receive the right to reside permanently there? Whereas the way the US immigration laws work just makes absolutely zero sense to me. It almost reminds me of the Middle East, where Indians go to work, but they are never really allowed to become citizens of the country or have a right to stay permanently, and they can be sent back anytime. These figures that you see here are definitely not the figures of a country which would be migrant friendly. US labor laws are just absurd. In the United States labor laws, there is no requirement for an explicit contract of employment. Most employment is on an at-will basis, meaning that the employer or the employee can terminate the working relationship at any time as long as the reasons are lawful. In Europe, the employment contract derived from common law is the basis of all employer-employee relations. And I know it from practice. When I was living in Germany, the first thing that the employer would give you when you are starting the work there is your work contract, because that is necessary for so many different kind of fields. If you do not have a work contract in most of the European countries, that thing is essentially not valid, which is very important because this also gives you the legal rights in order to do something if something happens at work. Public holidays. France, Germany, Spain, and the UK offer more than 20 days of vacation time to employees, whereas the US does not give employees vacation time, and its 10 public holidays are also not guaranteed to be paid out, according to the US Department of Labor. Wrongful termination. American federal laws and the US Fair Labor Standards Act do not require that the employers notify their employees before termination. An employer can terminate the working relationship for any reason other than discrimination, retaliation, defamation, breach of an explicit contract, or fraud. And this is absolutely nuts, because in Germany you are given 3 written warnings before the employer has the right to quit you. Because once the employer quits you, you are allowed to go to the state and get unemployment benefits from them. So the state wants to make sure that you were given enough chances. The employer gave you enough chances so that you can improve your mistakes, and if you still didn't, only then he is allowed to fire you. But the way terminations work in US, it's absolutely crazy. Again, there are some people who can tell you that, yeah, the corporate culture is so nice in US, you know, everybody's taken care of and so on. But you take a look at the real experiences of Americans who are working in American companies, and they will tell you the real thing about how they have been fired from one place to the other, and even for that, no reasons were provided at all, which is absolutely crazy. Maternal leave. The Federal Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, gives American parents 12 weeks of family leave to care for a new child, but the law does not require companies to pay for the time off. This is so ridiculous, because again, if you're taking care of your newborn child, you also want to have some kind of income so that you can feed your own family. Germany understands that, and that's why every single parent, each parent is given up to 1 year of time with the newborn son or daughter, and you are allowed to get 60 to 75% of the income that you were receiving previously, even when you are not working, which is so nice. This is what I call quality of life. This is what I call the state taking care of you. The policy is also restricted to full-time employees who have been with the company for more than a year, which comprises 60% of the workers countrywide. This is crazy that you have to wait for 1 year so that you can plan your pregnancy. You cannot get pregnant because you have started a new job or something. So for starting families and stuff, this definitely is not the most mother-friendly country or something that you can think of. Overtime pay. The US does not require companies to pay extra for night work. In turn, Americans work night and weekend shifts more often than Europeans, according to a paper published by the National Bureau of Economic Research. One of the basic and the most important things that you have to look at when you're moving to a country is what are the living costs in that country. Now again, when you're coming from India, most of the other foreign countries are going to be more expensive, but there's a limit to that, and US essentially crosses everything. Now according to the living cost comparison on the website Numbeo, you can see that consumer prices in Washington DC are 19.17% higher than in Berlin. Consumer prices, including rent in Washington DC, are 45% higher than in Berlin. Rent prices in Washington DC are 102% higher than in Berlin. 102% higher, that's double the prices that you have in Berlin. And again, I've picked up Washington DC and Berlin because we want to compare capital of one country to the capital of the other country. Restaurant prices in Washington DC are 28% higher. Grocery prices in Washington DC are 44% higher. Local purchasing power in Washington DC is 16% higher. So essentially you have most negatives, one positive, and that is again not so nice. And now you might say, okay, US is expensive, to kya? Well, prices aren't just expensive. Look closer. Here you see the average estimates of rent in capital of both countries. Apartment 1 bedroom in city center is 958 euros in Berlin and 1,963 euros in Washington DC, which is an increase of 104.97%. The same you can look at others. Apartment 1 bedroom outside of center, this is 128% increase. Then you have 88% increase. Then you have 106.87% increase. This is what I say, that many people who promote studying in USA to you, they're not being transparent with you. They're not exactly showing you that it's not a 10% increase, but it's a 100% increase. And most of these people downplay, it's a bit more expensive, but it's very comparable to European countries and you also earn a lot more and so on. Nope, this is a 100% increase. It is twice the price of anything that you have in the capital of Germany, Berlin. So I think any kind of argument that you have about living costs between USA and Germany, that can be put to the rest with this comparison. If you want to play with things yourself, you can use the website numbeo.com. I will also put the link for that in the description so that you can take a look at all of these things yourself too. Now, racism is more of an individual aspect of the society. Some people have experiences with racism, other people didn't have. But if you see in US, one of the most important movements of our time started in the US, which is the Black Lives Matter. And this happened after a lot of racially motivated crimes from the police on the African American people. Another thing which I quickly wanted to talk about was the American debt. According to a survey by CNBC, here are the average debt balances by age group. Gen Z, ages 18 to 23, are having $9,593. Millennials from the age of 24 to 39 are having around $80,000 US. Gen X from the age of 40 to 55 are having $135,000 US. From the age of 56 to 74 are having $97,000 US. Silent generation from the age of 75 and above are having $40,000 US. The average American owes a debt of more than $90,000, which includes all the factors of living. Even the government debt has steadily risen over the years, which creates more of a destabilized economy to live in. As of April 8th, 2021, the US national debt is $28.1 trillion and rising. Lower national savings and income, higher interest payments leading to large tax hikes and spending cuts, decreased ability to respond to problems, and a much greater risk of a fiscal crisis. Yes, this time the taxes were not increased, but they're still completely having the plans for that. And you might see it sometime in the future because COVID has been a nice opportunity for many people to change many things. I've shared everything I can with you so that I can show you the other side of how going to study in US is going to impact you in the longer run, which many other people are not talking about. For many Indians who don't come from rich families, again, like most of these people that you will see also like promoting studying in US and so on, they're coming from like richer families. If you're not from a rich family, like going through all of this financial burden, this can be very stressful, not just for you, but also for your parents. That's why I personally believe there are also like better options available where you can still get good education, you can get good opportunities in the end. In a nutshell, US essentially has worse quality of life, worse personal safety, more crime rate, massive student loan debts, dysfunctional healthcare, huge green card backlogs, and labor laws which make no sense. And for all of these things that I spoke about in this video, I've provided you ironclad data so that you can also see it for yourself. As I said in the starting of this video that my aim is not to bash the US at all. But there are many people who keep on promoting studying in US and so on without giving you the entire picture. But my responsibility is, if I see something like that, that I essentially also share with you the other perspective that you have to take a look at. Now again, I didn't come from a rich family, and I know that many of you are also not coming from a rich family, that like you're having millions and millions of rupees lying around. So you have to be careful about what kind of advices you're listening to and what kind of long-term impacts it is going to have on you, on your family, because trust me, your parents also worry about these things a lot. What kind of country they can send you to, then they watch these kind of videos, and again, like they're also like influenced with these. Now, all of these advices that many of these people give online, like this is just like pretty much hypocritical because, okay, like you had the funds to like go there and like, you know, make a life for yourself, but like maybe many other people don't. And luring them with this idea that, oh, there's so much money like that you can earn in US, when they don't tell you about the quality of life, the crimes, they don't tell you about environment, they don't tell you about healthcare, they don't tell you about living costs, and they don't tell you about the work laws. Like, what kind of advice is that at all, if not hypocritical and just sleazy? Yes, I promote studying in Germany because I generally believe this is the best place you can really study in and get good quality education. If you really want to go for an English-speaking country because you don't want to learn another language, then still Canada makes more sense because you will be still more safe there. There will be a better quality of life and better opportunities for you than US. You will still feel more welcomed and you will be able to live a better life and also settle down there permanently if you really want to move. But I don't think USA is a good option at all with the massive green card backlog that they have, which they have absolutely zero plans of working on. So that was pretty much it from my side. I hope I could show you another perspective of studying in USA and like how it is the best country on the planet and so on. And also if you want to get a first-hand idea of how it is to study in Germany and what are the basic admission requirements and so on, I've listed down a few free PDFs that you can directly download from the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends because again, I chose a different path to come to a different country so that I could share all of this information with you. Whereas most of the other people, they have been following the same trend because other people are following, but they are never really opening their mind to see that there are better options available. See you in the next one. Bye.